While all of the smooth brains are talking about Iron Hands and Roaring Moon, those of you with brains wrinklier than an old man's Pokeballs know there's several fun new decks coming in Paradox Rift that are flying under the radar. Just like my top decks video, I'll be including the lists in the comments, meaning you can reply to each one giving your own suggestions on how to improve them. First up is the lesser known deck I'm most excited for. Honestly, it could have appeared in my best decks video, but that was already 20 minutes long and I'm lazy. Plus, it gives me an easy deck to lead off with here. While you could build a turn 1 donk deck in Standard with Iron Valiant EX, Brute Bonnet, and Radiant Sneasler, hoping they start a Pokemon with 110 or less hit points and you draw insanely, thus winning the game before they even play the game, I'm going to focus on an actual competitive build. The ability Tachyon Butts is great, putting 2 damage counters on any one of your opponent's Pokemon when Iron Valiant moves from the bench to the active spot. It helps to improve the 200 damage Laser Blade deals, which comes up 20 short on Pokemon like Arceus V and Palkia V. Instead of using the 3 prize liability in Shadow Rider or the Stage 2 Gardevoir EX, Iron Valiant gets powered up with Xatu, also coming in Paradox Rift. The ability is the exact same as Shadow Rider's. Attach a Psychic Energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon, then draw 2 cards. As I mentioned in my best cards video, Xatu's added benefit is that it can attach to anyone, not just Psychic types. Unfortunately, Iron Valiant has a 2 retreat cost, so Beach Court isn't worth playing. Town Store is the much better option as it lets you get a Future Booster Energy Capsule out of the deck, giving Iron Valiant free retreat while also boosting its damage by 20. The list you're seeing here is very straightforward and very safe, going for maximum consistency over anything else. But thanks to early tournament results from Japan, we have other ways to play Iron Valiant that are far more powerful. A really fun partner is Medicham V. Not only can it be powered up by Xatu, but you can simply attach a Rapid Strike energy to it and it's good to go. The attack, Yoga Loop, only puts 2 damage counters in play, but if you take a knockout with it, you get an extra turn. So spread around damage with Iron Valiant to a weak Pokemon, then clean it up with Medicham, and all of a sudden you're taking 2 turns in a row. This build plays very thin lines of everything, but with 9 switch cards and 2 future boosters, using Iron Valiant's ability multiple times per turn shouldn't be an issue. Or if you want to abandon the whole attacking with Iron Valiant thing, go super hard with Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Iron Valiant's ability means you have a way to deal with Manaphy, leaving your opponent open for Urshifu VMAX's Gmax Rapid Flow. This build will definitely require math skills, so you have to be at least as intelligent as I am to pilot it. Some lists in Japan relied on manual attachments and fighting energy, but I used the Melanie version here, allowing you to have a truly explosive turn with Urshifu. Thanks to Xatu, a lot of other Pokemon can be paired with Iron Valiant. There's the Walling Mimikyu to potentially buy you an early turn against Iron Hands, the Mimikyu that does 10 damage for each damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon, Radiant Charizard, which can attack early if you use Xatu correctly, Golurk V if you don't mind using even tougher math skills, and yes, even Iron Hands can pair well with Iron Valiant. Another fun Pokemon I've seen paired with Iron Valiant is Iron Jugulis. It spreads 50 damage to 3 different Pokemon if they have damage counters on them, so it will require Manaphy to be gone, but that's a crazy good spread attack nonetheless. A couple other Japanese lists I saw also play Techno Radar, which gets you 2 future Pokemon out of your deck, and TMD Evolution, which allows you to put a small amount of damage on a Stage 2 EX, then devolve it and make your opponent hate you. Iron Valiant is just a great card overall, and I'm sorry I haven't seen that until now. It fixes the math on a lot of Pokemon while also hitting fairly hard itself. You should totally leave a comment or 3 on this video saying how ashamed you are of me that I was not on the Valiant bandwagon. It's the only way I'll learn my lesson. And if you're looking for ways to counter Iron Valiant, there's Klefki, Path to the Peak, and Enamorus V. Though Enamorus requires the Pokemon you want to protect to have a Psychic Energy attached. If you like decks that seem great in your head but struggle when you actually play them, look no further than Skeledirge EX with Greedent VMAX. Skeledirge's ability discards a fire energy from your hand, then boosts the damage all of your Pokemon deal that turn by 60. Since it stacks, you can use up to 3 Skeledirge per turn with this list, dealing 180 extra damage. Arceus V-Star is the perfect partner for setting up, as the V-Star power lets you get any 2 cards while also moving around energy from your deck. And Arceus now becomes a major threat to one-shot other multi-prizers. But the best part of this list is Greedent VMAX. If Greedent VMAX takes a KO with Turn of Profit, you take 2 extra prize cards. While it does a measly 30 damage regularly, boost it with Skeledirge, And even if you have a double turbo attached, Greedent is doing 70, 130, or 190 damage. 70 is enough to KO Comfey, Charmander, Ralts, Bidoof, and many other important single prizers, while 130 can handle things like Radiant Greninja and Bibarel. Other options for Skeledirge are any Pokemon that attacks for fire or colorless energy. So yes, Iron Hands is an option for Skeledirge if you make the craziest deck in history, but you also have Volcarona V, Blissey V, Baby Moltres, and more. If you're interested, here's a very rough first draft of what Blissey V with Skeledirge could look like, but feel free to whack off when I'm not looking. And now I'm going to give you all crabs. With Iron Hands EX shaping up to be the strongest deck in Standard, having a single prize fighting type that one-shots it is a great idea. And best of all, Klawf is just good in general, not only against lightning types. If Klawf is affected by a status condition, Unhinged Scissors does 190 damage. Use something like Grant or Choice Belt or Defiance Band and you can get up to 220, a great number. But the key to this deck is Brute Bonnet. If Brute Bonnet has an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached, it can make both active Pokemon poisoned. That fulfills the status condition requirement for Klawf. Throw in Radiant Sneasler and all of a sudden your opponent's active is taking 30 damage during Pokemon checkup, meaning you can consistently do 220 damage each turn. You could go with a straight double turbo energy build of Klawf along with Rhyhorn or Energy Sticker to attack turn after turn, but that's boring. This is a Paradox Rift video, so we're going to use Paradox Rift cards. Pair Klawf with Xatu, and now you have your Energy Accelerator and your draw Pokemon. No Bibarel or double turbo required. You still play double turbo energy though, but that's a precaution, not a necessity. The rest of the deck is built around looping Klawf turn after turn. Mew EX works as your free retreater, as well as a backup attacker should you need to copy something like Giratina V-Star. And Town Store helps get Bravery Charm and Ancient Booster out of your deck. Just be aware that Iron Hands does 120 damage, so having a naked Klawf isn't a good idea. So remember, if you're going to give someone crabs, make sure you're wearing a Bravery Charm. Another Pokemon you could pair Klawf with is Electrode V, as it too likes being affected by special conditions. The best thing is to just jam Klawf into the existing Electrode deck and play it with Parasect and Wind Up Arm. And something spicier than the curry in this deck is Grusha. And not just because Grusha is so hot. Man, I wish I could see what she was hiding under that parka. Anyways, if your Pokemon don't have energy attached, you draw up to 7 cards in hand with Grusha. Yes, players in Japan found a Yusa for Grusha. I also chucked in a copy of Professor Turo's Scenario because if you're playing one wacky supporter, you may as well play another. Finally, we have Tsareena EX, a super interesting Stage 2 Pokemon coming in Paradox Rift. For a single Grass Energy, you leave one of your opponent's Pokemon with 30 health. If you just want to use cards from Paradox Rift, there's the Vanillux that prevents your opponent from attacking with Pokemon who have 40 or less hit points remaining. Unfortunately, running 2 Stage 2 Pokemon in a deck is rarely a good thing unless they're super powerful like Charizard EX and Pidgeot EX. And if you really want to go the route of preventing attacks, it's so much easier to just play Panic Mask instead of a whole nother Stage 2 line. Then you can include cards like Mimikyu and Mawile, preventing them from attacking whatsoever and making them either concede out of hate, or making them run down your timer for 20 minutes because they're saltier than the ocean. But it appears as though people in Japan have cracked the code for Tsareena EX, and it comes in the form of Hisuian Braviary. For 0 energy, it puts 3 damage counters on all of your opponent's Pokemon with damage counters on them. So you use Tsareena to load up damage on all of your opponent's Pokemon. Tsareena can snipe anyone, not just the active, and then finish them off with Braviary. Along the way, you use Cheryl to heal Tsareena and give yourself extra turns. There is a major downside to Tsareena though. Your opponent can play around it. If they leave their Pokemon unevolved, like say an Arceus V, it'll have 190 damage on it after Tsareena attacks. Then all they have to do is evolve into Arceus V-Star and all of a sudden it has 90 hit points left, not 30. In that case, you'll want to use Trop Kick, but that's a less than ideal strategy to be sure. If you'd rather take as many knockouts as possible with Tsareena, you can change the list around to utilize Brute Bonnet and Radiant Sneasler. Tsareena leaves them with 30 hit points remaining, then the poison does the rest. At that point though, it feels like it'd be easier to just play Roaring Moon EX instead of running around with a Stage 2 that is guaranteed to need a turn to set up. But Tsareena has the added benefit of not punching itself in the face, so I'll leave that decision up to you. Even though I'm stopping after highlighting just 4 archetypes, know that there's dozens of other wacky decks coming out of Paradox Rift. including things like Xatu Shadow Rider with Mewtwo EX, Ursaluna V with Garganactyl, Mismagius De-Evolution, and even a Monkey deck. But if you can't wait and want to whack off on your own, let me leave you with this. If you attach a Luxurious Cape to Machamp, it has 400 hit points once your opponent is at 3 prize cards or less. So if you decide to whack off with this, make sure you think of me while you're doing it.